We should explore ideas like universal basic income to make sure that everyone has a cushion to try new ideas.
So we here on the left are often skeptical of rich and powerful people, largely fueled by our experience with people like Hillary Clinton or the Koch brothers. So yesterday when we saw that Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook, was giving a commencement speech to Harvard, a lot of people, including some very prominent political commentators on the left, were all too quick to pass judgment. Now, I don't want to name names because that isn't the point of the video, but a lot of people who I respect, who I listen to, immediately assumed that Mark Zuckerberg has nothing to offer us, that he can't possibly be progressive because he's extremely rich. So I decided to actually listen to the commencement speech before passing judgment. So let's listen to some of the clips and see some of the ideas that Mark Zuckerberg actually offered, and if there is something that he can offer progressives in society in general. So let's go to the first clip.
It is time for our generation defining great works. How about stopping climate change before we destroy the planet and getting millions of people involved manufacturing and installing solar panels? How about curing all diseases and getting people involved by asking volunteers to share their health data, track their health data, and share their genomes? You know, today, our society spends more than 50 times as much treating people who are sick as we invest in finding cures so people don't get sick in the first place. It makes no sense. We can fix this. How about modernizing democracy so everyone can vote online? And how about personalizing education so everyone can learn? These achievements are all within our reach. Let's do them all in a way that gives everyone in our society a role. Let's do big things, not just to create progress, but to create purpose.
Okay, so right there, he's offering some fairly progressive ideas. So a real focus on stopping climate change, for example, by growing industry in solar panels. And for healthcare, a focus on preventative care rather than just treatment when you're sick. Voting online, I think, is a great idea once we can figure out how to properly implement it. That would greatly increase voter turnout. So let's go to clip 2.
Today, we have a level of wealth inequality that hurts everyone. When you don't have the freedom to take your idea and turn it into a historic enterprise, we all lose. And right now, today, our society is way over-indexed on rewarding people when they're successful, and we don't do nearly enough to make sure that everyone can take lots of different shots. Now, let's face it, there is something wrong with our system when I can leave here and make billions of dollars in 10 years, while millions of students can't even afford to pay off their loans, let alone start a business.
Okay, so he brings up income inequality, which you can say is something that even Hillary Clinton brought up, but she wasn't serious about it because she didn't offer any actual policies to address the income inequality. So what is Mark Zuckerberg offering? Well,
we should explore ideas like universal basic income to make sure that everyone has a cushion to try new ideas. We're all going to change jobs and roles many times, so we need affordable childcare to get to work and healthcare that's not tied to just one employer. And we're all going to make mistakes. So we need a society that's less focused on locking us up and stigmatizing us when we do. And as our technology keeps on evolving, we need a society that is more focused on providing continuous education through our lives.
So let me break some of those ideas down. Universal basic income. Now, this is a position that is far more left than even anything Bernie Sanders has offered. And in the few small trial runs that it's gone through, universal basic income is shown to actually work. It essentially allows people the freedom to pursue new opportunities and entrepreneurship without the worry that if they fail, they're going to be out on their ass. And it eliminates homelessness and all of the costs associated with that. Because now when basic necessities like food and shelter are taken care of, you're actually free to explore ideas that you have to create, whether it's a business or to change jobs, and frees up that worry of how am I gonna pay for my water bill or pay for my next meal. So another idea that he mentioned there was healthcare that's not tied to your employer, which sounds a lot like Medicare for All, which is another progressive position. He also mentioned turning into a society that isn't so focused on locking people up, which again is another progressive position. So all these ideas are great, they sound progressive, but how do you suppose we pay for something like universal basic income? Well, he answers that too.
And yes, giving everyone the freedom to pursue purpose isn't going to be free. People like me should pay for it. And a lot of you are going to do really well, and you should too.
So before I get into the meat of that answer, I just want to show that clip again and look at the two guys behind him. These two guys wearing top hats who don't look all that happy with that answer. And now, so look, this is why a lot of progressives have a negative view of the wealthy and powerful. Because a lot of them, once they get into that position, they just want more. They just want more money and more power. And they'll find ways to justify it to themselves so that they don't feel evil doing it. But here, we have Mark Zuckerberg, who actually appears to care, who actually has real progressive ideas that he wants to see implemented. We need allies like this. Just because somebody is rich doesn't mean we should automatically paint them as the other, as someone who's against us. That doesn't mean they should be leading the charge on these ideas. I do think the leaders of this sort of movement should still be activists. But when you have allies in the field like Mark Zuckerberg, who are rich and can actually help to fund and push these ideas forward, we shouldn't just poo-poo that. We should be open and willing to listen, and if they want to help, then let them in, let them help. And this is really advice for any sort of group. Don't pass judgment on people, because while many of us may assume that someone like Mark Zuckerberg, who's incredibly rich and has been very privileged his entire life, we shouldn't just assume that he's not aware of the issues. Now, with that said, no, I don't want Mark Zuckerberg running for president, and I don't think he will. But when a billionaire comes out and discusses how he thinks we should adopt a universal basic income, I'm inclined to listen.